everybody, and welcome back to my vlog. And this is just a video just to show you how I came to choose the coax that I've chosen for my VHF UHF antenna. It's not necessarily what I choose for my HF antenna, but for the VHF UHF at this time, this is what I've chosen, and this is why. Now, the site that I use is one provided by the Radio Society of Great Britain. I'm sure in your own countries you'll have your own websites for this. If you don't, we don't mind you using this website to get information. Not all cables, not all coax is shown on this site, and I've chosen mine for 1, the size of it, 2, the availability of it, 3, the price. Okay. All right, so first of all, we're going to look at we're going to just start off with RG58, because that's what I've started with. Okay, not knowing everything, I went with RG58. It's there, it works, and as I was on HF, so I'm down in the 40 meter, 20 meter. I didn't use 17 or 15, but 12, 10, and 11. My HF rig is Mars unlocked, and so this is what I was using to start off with. Now, as you can see here, you see the loss per 100 meter, yeah, minus 18.1 dB. That's a lot of loss. That's over 100 meters. I calculated mine up today, and mine was actually a little bit less, about there, because I brought it in and I've put the other Messi and Poloni, whatever flex it is, we'll look at that in a second, 7, and so this is what I had for the RG58A. So we're looking at 40 meters. I don't know why it's saying that there, so if I just re-click here, so it puts it down to 10, 40 meters, 7.1 megahertz. Yeah, I believe they go up to 7.3 in the States, but we got a lot of shortwave after 7.2. Just can't really use that here. And my transmitting power, I'm just going to put this on 5 watts, because even though that doesn't really count for my HF rig, it will count for my HT with my hand transceiver. So we got here average power in the transmitter, RG58, loss per 100 meters. This is at this frequency. Remember in the last video I said it's all about frequency. So on 7.1 megahertz, the loss on this cable is minus 3.5 dB. It's not a lot, is it? On my cable length at 9.7 meters, the feed loss is 0.3 dB, which is not really a lot at all. So as you can see, if I'm putting in my 5 watts, the power, average power, peak power going into the antenna is 4.5 watts. Yeah. And we'll just stick with that. Let's forget about the dB side of things so much, apart from for the losses. We'll look at the watts now. I was going into that. I don't think it actually matters, because we want to skip past that, because what we're really talking about, I just want to show you the differences here. And what we're really talking about is this other cable for the UHF, VHF, or VHF, UHF. So we'll have the VHF 2 meters and the UHF 70 centimeters. Now look at the loss per 100, and then we'll look at it on 2 meters, minus 18.1 dB. Let's go on to 70 centimeters, minus 34.6 dB. It's a lot of loss, right? So now we'll look at that there for the 2 meters. 5 watts. Now we've got 3.3 watts as our average power. It's annoying, that is. Into the antenna. And this is with a feeder loss of 1.8 dB over 9.7 meters, which is basically what I had. I pulled into, there's a little bit, I put a ferrite cut ring in, and I got, I think it's like 9 turns on that just before it comes into the back of the radio, just to try and help relieve some noise or RF that may come down the outside of the cable. Most people would think coax as 2 conductors, the screen shield, the outer, the braid, yeah, was 1 conductor, and the inner. But actually, there's RF that can come down on the outside of the plastic casing of the cable. So that's what that coil was there for. But it worked out to be just like 9.7 meters. I'm going to call it. Now on this one with the 2 meter, we're going to go into a custom antenna. What I'm using is the Diamond X300, and that Diamond X300 on 2 meters gives me a whopping 6.5 dB gain. Now you can see this down here, look, it's automatically going into the red. And the reason why it's gone into the red is because this is to calculate my assessment, to calculate whether I'm going to be kicking out any harmful RF, not harmful, but I've got to take some things into consideration, and we'll look at that in a moment. So transmitting power, 5 watts. Power going into the average power going into the antenna, 3.3 watts, RG58, 3.3 watts. And the average, this is the equivalent isotropically radiated power, EIRP, right, which is 14.6 watts. So having that gain there, that's pretty good. It takes me up from 5 watts up to 14.5 watts, which is pretty good, right? The antenna height is approximately 6 meters. I'm going to put that in there, actually, is maybe, let's just say 5 meters. I've got it, I showed you in the last video, at the end of the last video, and it's up on that 20-foot pole, and it's probably 5 foot off the ground, 4 foot off the ground, let's say, so about 24 feet, so whatever that is in meters. And now we can see, look, there's some compliance here now, and the compliance is that, yes, the vertical separation, it's up high enough, 3.2 meters it wants. And also we got the horizontal separation here. So at one stage, before I looked at this, I thought, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. That pole I've got, I'm going to put a T&K bracket on the wall, and I'm going to strap that pole to the wall and run an antenna up the top of there. But that would not have given me the right amount of clearance. I'll tell you for why, because I know that my neighbour has a settee, her sofa, settee, whatever you want to call it, on the other side of that wall, and that's where she sits. And regardless of whether I get on with her or not, I am not going to be non-compliant. I'm not going to, that would be wrong. So that made me think, well, I can't have it there. I've got to do it another way. And temporarily, you've seen how it is, and I've also given you a bit of an idea to how it's going to be more of a permanent thing. So anyway, so now we're going to look at that again, with the feeder that I'm going to be using, which is the Melesi and Poloni Ultraflex 7. I chose it because I couldn't find any Hyperflex 5. I'd heard about Hyperflex 5. That's the diameter of it, I believe. It's supposed to be pretty good. And the 7 was the next one that I could look at. But let me just click onto that. And then you can see for 100 meters, look, we got a minus 6.9 dB loss over 100 meters. So my feeder loss over the 9.7 meters, and I'm going to actually put this up, because I know it's a bit longer because I used that cable. And the reason I used is minus 1 dB, and the reason why I've used a longer length is because I've put, I think it's about 9 turns at 9 inches just below the antenna. This is to help choke out some noise. It's not what's going to be a permanent thing, because I am going to build some ballums, some 1-to-1, and chokes basically. I'm going to build some chokes rather than have it as lengths of cable, because you know we're getting lost in the length of cable. If we look at the 10 meters, it's not a lot. It's only 0.3 of a dB. When we go to the 14, let me just go slightly over, and there's -1 dB. And look, you can see here 17.3 watts. So we've gone from 14.5 to 17.3 by having that cable. Now, I did think about getting the bigger cable, the 213, because it's one that's been used for many, many years. I remember long time ago, that's what used to be used for the a lot of people with their home-based CBs and their antennas. And we've got it's a little bit reduced, but it's a fatter cable. I think it's 10 mil, and so that wasn't really going to be that easy for me to feed through the window, which I can feed this through. All right, without using those feeders, without using those what they called the things. I can't remember what they're called, these things. Anyway, doesn't matter, without using these. So now let's look at, so that's what we've got on our 5 watts, right? Because that's what my radio does. That's what my HF radio, my HD does. So now we'll look at 70 centimeters. And at 70 centimeters, 5 watts in, we've got 3.2 watts going into the antenna. And look how much the losses have gone up. Let's just go back again to 2 meters. 6.9, let's say 7. And now we got 12.3. If we look very quickly at the 213, 16.1. Bigger cable, more loss. And so this is what's been right for me. It's not the best cable in this pile. Oh no, some of this stuff is very, very good, and I expect it to be very, very expensive. I got this because I found a place that was selling it, and it was at the right price. So I got what I got. All right, so I got 1.8 dB, which is, you know, 3 dB, we're losing half the power. So that's not so good. But look, 3.2 watts, but we've still got 14.5. But the nice thing about the Diamond X300 is on 70 centimeters, its dB gain is 9 dB. Now look, we now got 25.7 watts. 25.7 watts as the equivalent isotropically radiated power. Very good. But now when we look down here, look, compliance is still 3.2 meters high. Yes, we are, because we're above that. Let's say we're about 5 meters high. And the compliance on the horizontal antenna, this distance, is 1.6 meters. And yes, I fall into that, because I think it's about 4.5 meters there. If not 4, definitely 4 meters. So we're there on compliance. So there you go. I just thought I'd show you why it was pass-throughs, that's what those things are called. Why it was I actually chose this particular cable. Like I said, I found it at the right price. It's the right thickness to come through my window, and it gives me, you know, a lot lower loss, even compared. I'm not going to go through all these cables, even compared to the 213. All right, guys. Well, I just want to let you know this. Yes, my from Ofcom, which is the governing body of the airwaves in this country, I got my license through today, my certification with my candidate number. I've gone on to Ofcom. I've got the call sign, and I'm also registered now on QRZ. So all good things. I've made some contacts as well through Facebook and etc. But I've not popped my proverbial cherry by making an on-air contact just yet. But by the time my next video comes out in a few days, I would have done that. And yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited. Anyway, thanks to you guys for watching and keeping up with me on this channel and going through this, especially if you've been there right from earlier on, the beginning of my channel. You can hopefully see the development of not just the channel, but me. Yes, it's not a professional gig. It's all very amateurish, but there's been development there. There's been, you know, over time it's developed through different things, and hopefully it will carry on doing that. And yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's stuck with me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Bye for now.